Terrifying neighbors, the disturbing secret they kept. I've lived in 3 houses in my life too, with my family at my current house by myself. We lived in the first house for the first 15 years of my life, and the second house for the next 7 before I moved out to my current home. This experience happened in my first home when I was 15, within the last few months of my family living in that house. I don't remember my family ever being really friendly with the neighbors. In fact, there were 2 kids living next door with their dad that me and my brother had only talked to maybe once or twice our entire lives. One day, me and my brother, who is 5 years younger than me, were outside playing basketball on the driveway. That was when one of the 2 boys next door, It's Hot, came outside and walked over to us, initiating a conversation. I don't remember what we said to each other, quote for quote, but I remember the first thing that he asked us was if it was true that we were moving. As the older brother, I did most, if not all, the talking. Todd was probably the same age as me. I never actually asked. By the end of the conversation, he invited me to come with he and his brother to shoot BB guns by the river in the woods down the road the next day. I agreed since it was the weekend and I didn't have anything going on anyway. My little brother asked if he could come at the last second, not under the assumption that he was automatically invited as well. Todd said yeah, and then walked away late the next day around an hour before dusk. Eric and Todd rang the doorbell. We were quick to answer the door because our parents didn't know that we were going out to shoot BB guns, walking down the sidewalks with Todd and Eric decked out in camo gear. And carrying a duffel bag of BB guns was really strange. The level of seriousness these 2 clearly had, and this was really weird to me and my brother. And we kept meeting eyes, holding in our laughter a couple of times. Because of it, we got to the woods, haven't spoken very few words. I could already tell these 2 were kids, a few words. Maybe why we hadn't met them officially. Until that point, Todd dropped the duffel bag onto the ground and unzipped it, while Eric aggressively snapped a branch off a tree and threw it into the river. Me and my brother looked at each other again, this time not finding it. That's funny. Todd pulled out a couple of guns and handed them to me and my brother. And that's when Todd dropped the bomb and told us they were real guns. Eric read the loaded gun from the bag and began firing at trees across the river. When I realized he wasn't joking about the guns being real, I was in a mix of anger and confusion. I grabbed the gun from my brother's hands and placed both of them back in the bag. I told them we weren't comfortable with this and had to leave. Eric stops firing, and they both look at us with expressions that seem half angry. One of the 2 boys yelled a curse word at us as we were walking away. I always had a feeling these 2 were bad kids, but this confirmed it. I told my brother not to speak to them anymore for the remainder of our time living there. We told our parents at the dinner table that night that they were really weird kids, but we didn't mention the gun thing. I woke up that night to a breeze of cold air hitting me in the face. My window was open all the way. I felt something hard to press up against the back of my head as I was looking out the window, and somebody behind me going, "Shh." Somehow I didn't scream or jump, I just stayed calm. I was able to understand what was going on. Surprisingly quickly, I heard Todd's voice in a whisper behind my head. He told me if I ever told anybody, especially his dad, about the guns or the visit, he would come back and kill me and my entire family. I replied in a quiet, shaky voice, "Okay." He pushed my head with his gun before leaving through my window every night thereafter. For months, I would catch either Todd or Eric at a certain window of their house looking into either my or my brother's room. Their behavior became more and more strange as we got closer to the date of our move. Just a week before we moved, a rock was thrown at my window one night at like 1 a.m. I opened my window and saw Todd aiming a pistol up at the window, feeling like I was about to die. I'd over the ground only to hear the 2 boys crack up and laugh. I heard one of them refer to me as a. There were 2 other instances that week where the 2 would harass either me or my brother, and ultimately, I couldn't think of a more perfect time for us to make a move and get out of there after all these years. Neither me nor my brother told anybody about the boys or their threats. All I know is that those 2 boys were troubled, and it was a good thing we got out of there when we did.